I think the press had some details about the purpose of this press conference and what we're trying to achieve. Basically, I'm calling on NEON to cooperate. The time for assigning blame and who did what is not now. The federal government has made the decision, and we need them to cooperate. The Department of Health and Human Services issued to suspend all financial assistance. I didn't do that. They have appointed CDI as interim operator. We're begging, trying to ensure that NEON cooperate with them specifically. And I'll read this to be exact. Community Development Institute has offered a memorandum of understanding that will allow the continuity of the Head Start program at the very facilities in which NEON has operated Head Start, with the very teachers and staff that have taught and cared for the children. This can happen today. All NEON has to say is yes. A copy of this memorandum is available. Community Development Institute has done this before. They have the expertise and the experience to facilitate a smooth transition and to ensure legal, safe, and effective operation of Head Start. In the meantime, I will turn it over to Mr. Maslin, the Corporation Counsel, to talk about the legal aspects and where we are with that. Mr. Maslin.
Thank you, Mayor. We have been working with the state and federal agencies regarding the transition over to CDI. There have been some licensing issues. There is also an issue under the lease for the Nathaniel Ely School building that provides specifically that the Head Start program be operated there as a lease authorized under the lease. And so we now this morning have received a copy of a letter that the Community Development Institute sent to NEON asking for their cooperation. It's a preliminary memorandum of understanding. It's already signed by CDI, asking that CDI and NEON work together, and in order to do that, NEON has to agree to allow CDI to operate in the same location at Nathaniel Ely and at Ben Franklin under the license that's currently in effect for NEON. This can be done today. The letter has a 5 p.m. deadline this evening. Copies of it are here at the table for anyone in the press who wants to receive a copy. In addition to that, we are considering our legal options. They may include actions in court under the lease to enforce our rights as landlord under the lease. We are also prepared to ask for federal and state investigations of the financial improprieties that have been alleged in the various reports over the last couple of years with respect to NEON's financing and the management of federal and state grant money. So that's where we are. Again, as the mayor said, we're asking NEON to cooperate in this process. It can be done. Hopefully it will be done. And frankly, I don't understand why there's so much resistance at this point. This should be about the children and their families and about moving forward with the Head Start program and the other NEON programs with as little disruption as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to point out, again, that CDI says they will use the same teachers and staff. And to correct one other misconception, the so-called lack of funding from the city has no impact on this. The Head Start money is there. It just will not be run through NEON. Clear and simple. And with that, I'll try to answer the questions within the limits of what I can answer. Again, as Bob has said, and I've said, let's work together, put aside the past differences, and let them come in, and then see how NEON can start to get their house in order. So,
could you indicate how perhaps NEON is violating their lease agreement?
Yes, the lease provides for the use of Nathaniel Ely School for the Head Start program, specifically the Head Start program. Now that the federal government has suspended funding of the Head Start program, that program is not being run as a Head Start program. And under these current circumstances, they're not in compliance with the lease.
And
Yes.
how many children are in Head Start and all the programs in total, if anyone knows?
I think around 500. Mary Oscar's here. Just the numbers, you would be a little familiar with that. Between school readiness and it's about 500?
530.
536. Right. Anything else?
I mean, aside from the lease issue, is NEON legally able to run a daycare?
Well, that's another question for licensing, another thing. If they're not running at Head Start, I don't know enough about the law and the health department licensing. Maybe Mr. Maslin can also address that.
Thank you. The NEON programs I'll focus on Nathaniel Ely. Those are being conducted under a license issued by the State Department of Public Health as a child daycare center. So they're operating under those. I spoke with the Department of Public Health late yesterday afternoon regarding this situation. Their concerns are in terms of the ratio between the supervisors or teachers and the students, the facility, the equipment, whether doors are locked, things of that nature. They don't regulate the funding. So as far as operating a daycare center, yes, NEON can operate a daycare center under that license. At the same time, we've confirmed this also yesterday. CDI can also operate under NEON's license, as long as there's an agreement between the two. And it's also possible to separate the facility into two licensed areas. That's down the road. An immediate solution would be to operate under the current NEON license that's issued by the Department of Public Health. There are no other licensing issues that are really critical right now.
And to put another myth aside, it doesn't mean that sharing a license that NEON loses their license to operate their other activities. That's not true. If they shared the license, they would be in proceeding the other thing. But you have to remember something again. The State of Connecticut Inspector General has found problems with their budgeting and their accounting, have to pay money. The original report from the feds prior to this administration found problems. The state has stopped funding on their halfway house programs and taking over that. They're looking at other areas. So, again, to try and place it on some other entity for their problems, whether it's the federal, the state, their new chairman, Mr. Burke, who doesn't even live in Norwalk and is just on the board for 3 months, is saying the same thing. It's everybody else's fault. The city's not under investigation. The state is not under investigation. NEON is under investigation. Now, they say they can answer. They will file an appeal and answer. That's fine. If they say there are inaccuracies in determination, take the appeal process, but in the meantime, work with the kids, let them share the license, let the parents know they have a place their kids to go. That is the most important thing we are talking about. It is not about Dick Moccia, it's not about Harry Rilling, it's not about Chiquita, it's about these parents and their kids. And that's what we're concerned about. A memorandum of understanding will be signed today, and these kids would know where they're going, and NEON could continue to operate their other facilities that they provide. I don't know what more I can say.
If this is not resolved with the license in the buildings, is CDI exploring other locations in Norwalk, and if so, what are those locations?
Tad can talk. I don't know if we want to give those locations out, but Tad, you can explain, our business director.
Simple answer is yes, CDI is exploring other locations. They've asked for introductions. The introductions have been made, and I think those conversations will take place, assuming that the solution presented by the mayor isn't enacted.
Why does this